Good evening, good evening, good evening. I forgot to turn the speakers off. I knew I'd forget something. It's been a little while since I did a show, so I'm back in the groove again. A lot of stuff going on today. I already see some questions in there that we're going to be covering today. I'm going to share my screen in a few minutes, something I usually don't do, and I want to show and answer a question that I've had. I don't know how many times. Patrons have seen this quite a little while ago. When I showed this to Patreons, I got a ton of questions and emails sent to me. So I know that most people won't know that this is how this works. And it's going to be related to promoted listings. Yeah, in some categories, you're going to need them. I've used promoted listings in the past. Hang on just a second here, folks. I've had some questions about this. Marky's right here. I'm going to show you the new member to our family here. This is Jack. This is, I don't know what kind of dog he is, but this is Jack.
He is a terrier and dachshund mix.
Yeah, this is our new...
Jack Russell Terrier.
Jack Russell Terrier. And his name was Old Jack. We adopted him from, the Seneca County Humane Society, I do believe. No, you can take him up with you. Yeah. I can hear he's already interested.
He wants to go to bed.
He's a good little boy.
Yes, he is.
No, yeah, he's a good little guy. He was abused, literally abused. He was confiscated. He was in a hoarder's house. He had a terrible life. He lived in a little box. Apparently, he was drastically abused. The one lady started to tell my wife, and she wasn't. Anyway, we moved on from there. I'll go into the whole story in a video on the other channel because I've had a bunch of people, and I want to do a thank you to the Humane Society. They were awesome. I mean, in every step of the way. They even stayed after hours. We didn't realize it. It was just an awesome experience. It's probably one of the best groups of people for animals I've ever dealt with in my life. It was really, really good time. And I mean, it was, anyway, that's Jack. He is now part of the family. He still has to be babied in a little bit because he still thinks he's going to get abused. He was actually adopted once, and they brought him back. And then every other person who walked in there to look at him, they left because the dog was so afraid of people. It took us two separate trips and spending hours sitting in a small room with our other dog, with that dog, just to get him to even look at us. Some of the pictures I have when we were there, you can see he would stay as far away. He was just totally freaked out by people. So he's come a long, long, long way. Anyway, that's what we adopted. It wasn't really what we were looking for. We wanted a smaller Chihuahua that was a little older than that. But anyway, we fell in love with the little thing. He's just adorable. He's very bright. Anyway, that's our new dog, Jack. Let's hop into... most of you probably, or a bunch of you probably know Marky. If you want to see Marky in a bunch, watch the Weeble videos. I've got another Weeble video that we are been working on for a little while. We're going into it this weekend. I've got Jiminy Flippit is actually doing some music for us for that video. Jimmy, Marty. So anyway, you probably know him. He has his own channel as well. Good guy. I've talked to him many times on some conference calls and stuff. But anyway, those will be coming back out soon. It's going to be all revamped. Lots of stuff going on with that. We've spent some time shooting. We've spent some time. We've got some help with it. You're going to hear prices. You're going to get to see some things that you've probably never seen before out of my wife's massive collection. Anyway, a lot of stuff you won't even find in the price guides. Trina, no, I have not found an all-black Weeble. I honestly would give somebody $100 for an original. They're 2-inch. It's a 2-inch Weeble. It's an all-black plastic Weeble. It has to be the original. It has to be a Hasbro. It can't be some modern repro. I know the difference. I've seen somebody try to peddle one that was a modern-day version to me, and we know the difference. Trust me. Let me pop up to the front. Things have been going really well over here, I have to say. Good evening, good evening. I've already missed some names, unfortunately. I only can go back so far on my chat. Otherwise, I'd have to pause and a bunch of other stuff. I'm assuming everybody can hear me. That was the other thing I should have made sure. hang on, I'm just trying to make sure everybody can hear. I don't hear anybody saying no sound. You heard his name, so I'm taking it. You can. Love that dog to death, man. That dog has just been a lifesaver for everybody here. The wife was very close, and our other dog who we had, well, I'm not going to go into the other dog details, but let's just say that other dog was my wife's best animal friend of all time. So anyway, this dog is super, super good. Loves the wife, and wherever she goes, he goes. So everything worked out as good as it could. Let's hop on to eBay for a little bit here. And we're going to talk about other platforms. We're going to talk about some other things, because let's just hit all the questions I got. I got a little sheet of paper here with the questions I get all the time. People ask about what other sites to sell on. I'm going to hit those. We're going to hit everything I can think of what's going on in reselling for 2022. And again, I went to a massive, I've got a ton of videos still. I haven't even touched all the video at all. I mean, I've just shown a few little clips here and there, but I went to a place and I talked to a lot of dealers. I mean, a lot of dealers from all over the country. And we're going to delve a little bit into some of the results, what people have told me, and some things that seem to hold true by pricing and all kinds of stuff like that at flea markets. I'm old school flea market guy. That's where I broke my wings in. I was an old school flea market guy. Did the garage sales with my mom when I was like 7. So I've been around the block for a long time. Back in the 70s, garage sales were a lot different. What's the sci-fi figures? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. I know I ramble on. Well, Auction Monkey, thank you very kindly for the $10 super chat there. Great stuff as always, going picking in PA the next 4 days. Well, good luck with that for sure. We had a mechanical issue while we were in Springfield and ended up cutting it way short. I wanted to hang out with Dave. Again, I met Dave there. Paper Goy, half of the $1 Million Peddlers. He's in one of my videos from just the other day. Real great guy. His friend Tom was super too. We actually had some food. I wished we could have spent more time, but my vehicle that we just got last December had a mechanical issue, I should say. It turned out to be a crank something engine sensor that turned off half the engine in my car. Anyway, long story short, we missed the last half of the flea market, but I did get to talk to tons and tons of people. Let's pop back up here for a minute. We're just gonna get rid of somebody. Okay, we got that situated. Okay, I know there was a couple questions up here. Let's see if I can still get to the questions, because I do want to touch base on a bunch of the stuff that has been going on. Item specifics. Let's hit that first. I have people tell me, hey, why don't you just promote your listings and you wouldn't have to worry about item specifics? Well, vintage and collectibles, anybody who does vintage and collectibles, if you have half a brain, you know that promoted doesn't honestly work. It's not the same. Before we go any farther, I'm going to show you why promoted doesn't work for collectibles for the most part. It doesn't work for a lot of things. I'm going to switch over, and we're going to show you a screen share in just a second here. Okay, we're signed in. This is my eBay account here. Let's just look up, again, I'm not doing anything special. There's no special setups done here at all. We're going to type in Nike men and 9 for Nike men's size 9. This is a standard search that anybody's going to do. Now, I'm just picking shoes. You can use anything you want. I do it the same way for vintage. If you're searching for something, there's some things that most people are going to look at, and we'll talk about that. What you'll notice on any of the searches is obviously the sponsored listings, which are promoted listings, are at the top of this. And then you're going to see them scattered throughout. I think we counted a 10 or 15% amount of promoted listings on a page of a 240, which is, I think, what I've got set up here. You'll see them scattered. There'll be, in fact, there's going to be some more here in just a minute. So again, promoted listings, that's what everybody's talking about. In fact, there aren't even that many on here today. Let's slop down here a little farther. Wow, there really aren't that many on here today. That's really surprising. But anyway, so at the top of this, the results are different with whatever you look at. But at the top of this, let's say I wanted to figure out cost as a factor. So I want to sort it by the lowest to the highest. I want to know if I can get the same shoes at the cheapest price, which is what most people are going to do. The minute you do that, the first thing you should notice is there are no more promoted listings showing up for the top 99.9% of all the listings you have in there. So as you see, there are no promoted listings. So promoted listings only work to a certain extent if you're only going by what eBay tells you based on your best match. For anything. If eBay didn't remove those from the top of the list, the search results would be useless because I wouldn't be looking at the lowest first. I would be looking at what eBay wants me to see first, and it would be very obvious that eBay is steering them towards people that are paying. So any other option on here, ending soonest, does the exact same thing. Promoted listings all disappear. Now they are on this page, but not the 15 or 20 we just saw. If you go down to the bottom, you're going to see them. The last 2 listings are sponsored promoted listings. That's out of 240. So 238 listings are not sponsored. You can do this at home. I'm not doing anything secret or anything mysterious. Any search result's going to do just what I showed you and remove 99.9% of the actual sponsored listings, your promoted listings. Most people who search for vintage and collectibles are looking for the newest item listed first. Newest first. Now, why would somebody who collects, if you're not a collector, you don't get this. But as a collector, I look for Weebles for the wife every single day and sometimes 2 and 3 times a day. And the way you do that, if you want to get that rare one that's so rare like the all black Weeble, you have to look constantly. So most true and diehard collectors are going to look at what was put up the most recent. Because if they wait a day or two, some other collector will have it set and saved as a search and will nab it as soon as it pops up. So if you're not up on, getting in there and getting the items like this, you're missing out. But anyway, the promotions are all gone basically, other than, again, you can spend your time and look through every row. You won't see them. I've done this search a million times. I've been discussing this for a very long time. The only promoted listings, again, are these 2, the very last 2 on the bottom of the page. And they're always separated by this block of nothing over here. So for me, collectibles don't need promoted listings. It's not going to do me any good. There's no way that anybody can tell me that it's sold promoted, and it wouldn't have sold if I didn't do that. I can get the same results or better by doing the end and sell similar, as well as doing the sales that we do. I used to run sales and the promoted listings in the past when I did clothing. I've never said you shouldn't do promoted listings specifically, but it depends on the category you're in. You just have to understand that anybody not looking by what eBay tells you to immediately, the best match, is immediately defeating the promoted listing aspect. And that's not even going into the amount of people who use ad blocker. Again, take it how you want, but I don't use them. There's no sense in it for vintage and collectibles. The only way you're going to sell something for a vintage and a collectible would be to have the right person online. If the right person is online, it doesn't matter if it's promoted or not. So you can do this search with anything on here. However you change it, the only way that it's going to show you all of those promoted right up at the top is if I click back on best match. And every time eBay gives you a search result for pretty much anything you look for, I'm not picking a category. First off, they are picking the category. I am not picking the category. But what eBay is going to always give you is what they say is the best match, because it shows the ones they make a percentage of the profit on, which are sponsored. Amazon does it. Etsy does it. They all do it. I'm not saying there's a problem with what they are doing, but you've got to understand how it's being shown, what's out there. If you don't get that the minute somebody changes this, you don't understand how the process works, and you're using that process. You should understand how it works. Now, in the questions, there's people that are constantly telling me, people that I trust, Michelle, one of them right there, that eBay changes numbers on your accounts. I've heard this, and I've seen screenshots from dozens of people that have shown me what they've put in and what ends up showing up on their account. So, again, take that for what you will on how that's happening. I pay attention. I've researched this. I've looked into it. I've talked to people. I've talked to a lawyer over. I know what's going on. I understand it. If you're going to use something, please just look and see how it actually works. Don't just say, hey, I'm getting all this boost from it. If the majority of people who use promoted listings are thinking they're going to get a boost, you may get a boost from it. I can't say you won't, but if you're using collectibles and vintage and unique, you might have sold that item just as easily, and chances are you probably did, without using a promotion on it. It just depends on what you are selling. I don't sell things that need promoted listings. Yes, I have to do some other things, but I would have to still do those other things and promoted listings to get seen. They'll still ghost your listings if they've been up for a long time. The proof is when you do a bunch of sell similar, you sell a whole bunch more items the day you do it. So it happens every time. It's not like a hearsay like I think it's happening. It does. It's a good enough percentage that is happening that I can't see it any other way. We write it down. I keep track of it. I compare from one account to another account. I compare numbers. I look at the data. I've been talking to quite a few people in Patreon as well. Long conversations. And I'm not the only one who has these same results, who sees the results on, people who have used promoted listings. Again, I've used promoted listings for 2 years prior to us not using in the last 2 years. I don't sell clothing anymore, though. What I sell are unique, different items that, again, the keywords, your photo, your price. In fact, maybe I'll show it in one of the little shorts tomorrow. I think it has to go out tomorrow. I sold something that 3 other people had up. They've had it up for a while. Mine sold first. Mine sold well, and it sold for more than theirs. Why? Because the keywords are good. I knew the best keywords. I got them to the left. The photo is a zoom in. There's our distance shots. The exact same thing. You can see what mine was going through the gallery view. There's a lot of people who do this. I copied that technique from someone else. So it's not something I personally came up with, but it works. So again, there's a lot of things you can do that will get you the sales or get you stuff without having to worry about promoted listings or without doing this or doing that. If you've got the hottest items out there, you don't have to do anything. They'll just sell because they're that hot. But I don't know but maybe 1 or 2 people out there in all of reseller land that I personally talk to that have the majority of their items are hot items. We'll get a good hot item, a couple times a week maybe, but they're not the same item. And that's the odds of most people. Every item you pull out is not going to be super, super hot. So you've got to play some sort of game on eBay. Our game is end and sell similar. I've cut the time down. It takes me almost in half now, so it doesn't take as long. We've figured out a few other things we can do to shave off the necessity of investing time into doing this. There's some ways to streamline it with eBay. So that's what we've been working on. Now, again, I'm allowed to have an issue with what eBay does, and I think everybody else should when they do something wrong. Unfortunately, people don't because they don't want to portray a bad image because some people make money off of portraying eBay as this super, super company. They're all the same now if you haven't figured that out. Whether it's Amazon, eBay, Etsy, or whatever the case, all the big ones have pretty much mimicked everybody else, just as every business out there does in Wall Street. That's just capitalism. Capitalism in general. I only have the problem on one side, as most people do, but that's here nor there at this time frame. Now, we've been on other sites for a very long time. Alternatives. Everybody knows Amazon. Amazon is a reliable alternative if you're able to get items that you can list on Amazon first, if they're easy to sell second, and you have less competition is the third one out there. Those are the factors which I look at for Amazon. A lot of stuff, vintage and collectibles, depending on what they are, will do better on eBay. Now, vintage and collectibles, we're on gated and collectibles. I don't know what Amazon does with the category anymore. I know we're still in it. We still have all the access and the abilities to list without an ASIN number. I can list anything I want in that category without having to seek permission at all, as long as it's vintage and collectibles with that. Prices on some of the items I sell, 8x10 photo, for example. I can get double on Amazon what I can on eBay for the exact same item. Records. 78 specifically. I can get more for a 78 record on Amazon than I can on eBay. Discogs, it's a little bit different. Some of them I'll do very well on Discogs versus Amazon or eBay. It just depends on the type of music, what I found out. Depending on what you sell, you're going to have different options to sell on different platforms. Amazon is a decent platform. I've had far less issues with Amazon. I have had some of the exact same issues with Amazon and eBay. And that goes back to, say, like Richard Pryor's estate going after us for some photos that were licensed to CBS and by CBS television. But anyway. Now, with eBay. eBay is still around 40% of my reselling revenue. I'm not going to give up 40%. It doesn't mean that I have to agree with what the site's doing. It doesn't mean anybody has to agree with what the site is doing. Again, if we don't voice our opinions when they do something stupid or against us as a seller, it's on you. That's all I can say. If you don't have a problem with it, when something does affect you, there's nothing I can do. I mean, it's done. We can't come back. If they've instigated something and no one says anything, they're just going to say, hey, no, we haven't heard very many complaints. Just a few people over there. Just like the item specifics. It's come down to the point where you have to put them in, even the recommended. In my opinion, the recommended are needed as much as the required these days. Whether there's a ton of them or not, we've been spending hours, not hours, but a couple hours every couple days putting them in, hundreds here. Some of them we download and things like that. The majority of the ones left over are going to have to be done manually. So we'll have to manually go through 5,400 listings. But, I think this is a good time to fix stuff up. So that gives me a reason, I guess, to go in and do it. And we're fixing and moving them. We get some sales, so it's paid for my labor. So I'm in a better standpoint because I'm not out any money to have them fixed. And that may be the case for many of you. If you put the recommended in, you may sell a few of those to pay for the time it took you to put them in. That is my thinking. Even if I break even, I didn't lose anything, I still have the data, and I don't have to see that stupid, you have so many recommended at the top of my page every time I look on my listings tab. So, I'm moving on with it. Back to other sites again before we go any farther. Syncing wise was a question. That's the question I was thinking about. I'm just want to go into the topic today, so I'm sorry if I'm not calling out. I know there's a lot of good folks in here, a lot of names that I 100% know very, very well. But I think the content, and I'm going to try and get to some questions because David asked on the syncing, and I've had that question that's on my list. Syncing, it needs to be done by your SKU number. If you do it by a SKU number, who cares when you relist or anything else, because the SKU number is always the same. So that is our route. I want to do a call out and a thank you to Dave Papergoy, which is half of the $1 Million Peddlers. He gave me a name of somebody, and I still have to get all my stuff together, my P's and Q's lined up. But SKU numbers is what it's going to take. That's what I need to have done. And I already have a price. I know what it's going to cost, and I'm just going to pay it. It's going to be $1,400-$1,500, I'm estimating, probably, to have somebody set it all up and switch it over for me. I'll just let somebody do it. By the time I sunk the time in, this way I'll be done and it'll be an overstory. Now, obviously, I have a lot of listings and other things, so a normal person wouldn't be sinking that kind of money into it. Maybe $100 in your time or something. I don't know. But so SKU numbers is the only way to do it. A SKU number doesn't change even when you end and sell similar, relist, or whenever it does anything. It doesn't change. I can tell you if you end in sell similar, even if a relist would technically give you a new number, the syncing doesn't work. The syncing fails when you do it that way with the end and sell similar, unless you use the SKU number. Again, SKU number. We're not talking just writing some random thing in that little custom SKU box that eBay has added. That's a good box. There's nothing wrong with having it there. The SKU number is an individual number, and most of the real world uses SKU numbers. When they added it in, quite some few years ago, I don't remember how long ago, but it's been like, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 years ago, eBay added a SKU number in there. I think somewhere in that range. We talked about it, but we had already had 20,000 or whatever listings up, and the idea of downloading everything and uploading them via, I'd do a Excel spreadsheet, comma delineated download file is what CSV, that's what I would do from eBay, and then I could upload them back with SKU numbers filled in. I could just write a script and it would automatically post them, one different one for each of the listings and all the files that I download from eBay, and that's what I would do anyway. So it wouldn't be as horrendous as you would think, but it's going to take some time to do that part, and then to have somebody else set up the linkage. There are several service-oriented services that will do that will set it all up, and that they will automatically sync, and they'll quantity sync. And that's the whole point of having a sync in the first place, is making sure you don't sell your items on 2 sites at the same time. And that's the reason that unless something syncs, it's not really any good. If you're not getting a direct sync, especially a near live sync is what you want. There might be a delay of a minute or 2 on some of them, or even 15-minute intervals. I can deal with that. That's what you're looking for. That's the whole point of us moving and doing this and getting their own site and all that stuff, is the fact that you have to be able to sync everything correctly. Your levels have to stay correct. So if you're on 5 different sites with the exact same merchandise, you have to have a good way to do it, and SKUs are the only way to do it if you're going to end and sell similar. You can still do end and sell similar to your heart's content with the SKU number as your syncing feature. You just can't use any of the main common stuff that everybody else uses, because it's not offered through a standard sync through, say, InkFrog or something else. I don't know any standard one that's offered just to resellers that does it. The SKU system was developed decades ago for big business, wholesale, national companies who had SKU lines, and they delivered and printed invoices and all this stuff. So a box of T-bone steaks at one Applebee's will be the same exact merchandise number as a box of T-bone steaks at another Applebee's. That's the point. So everything syncs. The company has standards. They can see how much they sell of each item. The SKU numbers are how they determine everything on a business. I use SKU numbers myself for Einstein Brothers. $11 million plus dollars of merchandise was handled just through SKU numbers. For every single thing I had a SKU number. Packets of salt, salt and pepper shakers, a bag of salt. Everything had its own separate SKU number. Every SKU number was different, and that's how you could determine anything. Most people probably know that, but that's the system you need to go to do reselling. And once you get it started and get it all switched over, all you do is add a number in there. That's all you got to do. And you can have a random numbering system on a computer, whatever you want. There's a million ways to do it. So, and there's plenty of space. It won't show up in your title. Now, I would still keep my location numbers in my title, as I have been doing for all these years anyway. I don't use a custom SKU. They're in my title for a reason. It's easy to see it. Nobody else here, if a print-up sheet comes up that just has the item title number, they can instantly see where it's at. Doesn't matter. That's just the way we do it. I know it takes up space. I'm losing 4 letters or 4 spaces of keyword potential. I almost never use that many anyway, but unsweetened iced tea is what I usually drink. Okay, so let's touch now back on other platforms. Obviously, the sync part comes into play. If you're going to do your own platform, you're going to do Shopify. Shopify is my personal choice for our own personal site. I do have a ghosted site that's up right now with tens of thousands of items on it, but We want it all right. I want everything correct. I don't want to be going through into the BS. So once the SKUs are done, then the site will be opened. I know it's been a long, drawn-out process for all of this. Nothing is you can take for granted. Things change. You got to move on. You got to change with it. So anyway, now again, it depends on what you're selling. If you're selling clothing, Poshmark, I know there's been some grumble about Poshmark has done some changes. I don't do it. I've tried it. It wasn't my thing. Nothing really wrong with the platform at all. I personally know people who do very, very well on it and don't complain. They don't have any issues with it. They don't change enough stuff to make them worry about it. So from what I've personally seen, I would recommend Poshmark. I mean, honestly, I would. Again, I've used it. Wasn't my thing, but there was nothing wrong with the platform. Poshmark has a strong following. They've picked up some traffic. Their visitor count isn't super high, but again, it's specialized. It's niches and things like that. Now, Macari, however it's pronounced, mixed results on that as well too. I know some people who I've talked to personally, privately, that have had some issues where they've held money and all kinds of different things like that. That alone would have an issue with me. I know I've had some other folks who started it, got on the site, and then they imported a whole bunch of listings and they were shut down like a day later. I've been told that they reinstate you after a couple of days. They're worried that you might be trying to pull a scam or something, from what I was told. I haven't gotten that far into Macari, so I'm not going to say it's good or bad. It has its good part and has its bad part. I do know people personally who I've talked to. I talked to a lot of people who have been making good sales on there. In fact, some people that aren't doing eBay have split their business up into several different segments. So certain items now go, like all their clothing goes to Poshmark. All of their vintage and certain other items go on Etsy. And then things that would be conducive for Macari are going on Macari, some home goods and things like that. So instead of having one single platform, they're split it across 3 and 4 for some of the people that I've talked to. We're on many sites. I've said that before. One of the sites that I've sold hundreds and hundreds of items on has been Hip. We do fairly well on Hip. Routinely sell stuff on the platform. Routinely sell stuff in same price range as eBay. Again, it's specialized. There's 3 Hip platforms. I have no affiliation with them at this point. I've done something with them in the past, so they're not. I've been doing Hip for maybe going on 3 years, and I wouldn't drop it. They have some sync issues, but it usually works itself out. If not, I give a call, and they've been pretty good about fixing anything. I know I heard another YouTuber. I'm not going to call it a name, but I see Danielle's in house. How you doing there, Danielle? I know another one. He's a nice guy and all that, so no disrespect to them. But there's a couple people who have said they're not going to do Hip anymore because of the sync issues and stuff. Yeah, there are some issues, but if you contact them, I've been pretty lucky with them fixing them fairly quickly. Hasn't been perfect, but for the sales I get, I'm not going to complain. It's a minuscule issue, truthfully, to me. You've got Del Camp. Del Camp you can do fairly well. Del Camp is if you don't know what Del Camp, DELCAMPE, if you don't know what that is, look it up. It's a foreign site, but you can sell, you can sell pretty much anything on there. Tons of stuff in it, but again, it's a foreign site, so you've got to make sure you have marketable goods that would be of interest on other platforms. Stamps and stuff like that usually are good on places like that. Postcards to some extent. American magazines, American movies, movie collectibles, American comic books sell well. American trading cards sell really, really well. There's a big market for the American collectibles over there, as well as foreign collectibles. I do buy foreign collectibles, and I would recommend other people doing the exact same thing if you want to have a broader reach and a broader appeal to your store. You want people to come in. You've got to have a pretty broad mix of things, I would say. I don't try to pinhole myself into only 1 or 2 categories. I sell in, 50 or 60, whatever I can get my hands on. Let's see here. Etsy, of course. Etsy is good for creations. Whatever you create. In all honesty, homemade by Amazon, well, the Amazon side of it, you can sell stuff on Amazon too. It's a toss of a coin between those, I guess I would say. It depends on what you have. If you create, like I've got some resin kits that we've made. I've got quite a few now these days. I can do very well on Amazon with them because they're more geared towards what's hip, what's in right now. Like a garage resin kit, or I've got dinosaur stuff I've done and some little figures and things like that. This stuff does very well. It does very well. In fact, I had a slow week on eBay for right after graduation. We had like 3 or 4 days. Then I ran a sale, but I sold a couple of the clowns, the killer clowns from outer space, and it was over $500 for the 2 that sold. So, you get those kind of things here and there, and that adds up. So it's not like I'm doing it all the time, but it's good money. So it depends on what you're selling. Etsy does good for things that you would use to do scrapbooking, things that you would use to do art projects. So like Victorian items I do extremely well on. Etsy is a good market for that because people will buy them from, say, me or somebody else. They'll turn around and make Christmas ornaments and things out of them like that. You can buy every part of the vintage glass, paper, and tinsel created Christmas ornaments from circa 1910 and before. You can buy all the parts on Etsy. So Etsy is very good for a lot of things like that. I know a lot of people have issues with the free shipping push and all that on Etsy. I go with the flow with Etsy because I don't have the glitches or anything like Etsy is pretty glitch free. Etsy very rarely has any downtime or anything else like that. So with Etsy, the big thing for me is if they change it, I'm not happy about it, but it's doable because, again, I'm not worrying about anything else. When they change it, the only thing I'm worrying about is that one specific change because the categories don't change. You don't have all this other crap you got to put in there. It works the same way it has for years. I don't have any of those concerns, and it's still a relevant platform. It's gained ground for years. I would recommend Etsy. You're not going to sell everyday items the way you would on maybe eBay or Amazon, but it's a niche-y site in my book. It is more of a craft or more of a outsider kind of platform, in my opinion. Kind of like some of the other sites I've talked about with those in like Patreon and stuff. There are a lot of sites like that. There's sites that you can sell your artwork on and stuff like that too. Etsy is great for that. Honestly, I follow Adam Savage occasionally. I follow him, but I don't have much time to watch. But once in a while I will, and he'll be talking about some of his build videos I have in the background quite often here and there. Some of the build videos he'll be talking about buying something off of Etsy all the time. A lot of the stuff on there is geared towards movies, sci-fi, 3D printing, making custom one-offs and stuff like that. If you're artistic, Etsy is really a good site for that. If you intertwine that with, say, an Instagram of what you do, I mean, it all comes down to what you're selling as to what site works best for you, what site you should try. When people ask me what site should I use, what site do I need to mess with, again, I can't tell you unless I know what you sell the most of, what you do this, what you do that. It just doesn't work like everybody thinks. You got to know what the best platform is for each specific. If you're not going to do like electronics on eBay, you might need to sell them on Facebook or on Craigslist. The only thing with like Facebook and Craigslist, in my personal opinion, you might get a lot of locals, and I hate meeting people these days. I really do, and only because probably like 70% of the time when I went to meet, they were late. I mean, sometimes they didn't show up. They'd call with some sobs. It was always something, it seemed like. 1 out of 4, they would be there on time, and we'd be done. I know I've talked about this before too. People say, I'm paranoid about not meeting. We meet at the police department. There's a section that's under light that's just for that. They've got one at the fire department, I think, now too. You never know, Around here in Michigan, there was quite a few people that have been killed. One was over a motorcycle, and I think that was just an hour or so away in Michigan. I don't like meeting people anymore these days. Nobody comes to the house and all that kind of stuff. You got to be careful. Place of business, I don't even like people coming to sometimes. That's not being paranoid. That's being safe. If you don't know what risk management is, I would honestly recommend looking up risk management. Every big business has it. You got to be able to control and limit your exposure to risk of any kind you can, and that's again why you call out things. But so let's see, where else would be another DeviantArt, but we're not going to get into that here. That would be something some of you probably already know exactly what I'm talking about as soon as I said that. Now, Whatnot. Let's talk about Whatnot. Now, Dom, Primetime Treasure Hunter, good channel, a good friend of the channel. He's the one who's talked about it the first time to me. Now, I wasn't sold on the whole setup and the whole works. I don't know. I have talked to them. I am going to give it a shot. I've had so many people bring it up lately that, I wasn't going to let it go, and I figured I better at least try it. My son wants to do it, so my youngest son's going to handle Whatnot. I'll be on there. You'll see me in the back. Well, I don't know you'll see anybody, but we are going to try it with just records. And I know I've had a bunch of people ask me to sell bulk lots of records. I'm going to throw some up on there and see what happens first. If I sell something to one person and I get other people mad at me, so I would just assume, I guess not. I don't push my wares on my subscribers. I don't want you specifically thinking if you join my Patreon or something, I'm trying to sell my wares. I don't do that. So if I'm going to put it up on an open platform, that way no one can say I'm favorite or anything else like that. I've given away more records than I've ever sold to anybody. I've given away hundreds of records in contests and things in the past, or to other specialty groups and things like that. I've donated a bunch too for help out some other folks, but I'm going to give it a shot. We'll see what happens. I talked to a gentleman for quite some time today, with some emails back and forth before that. Very nice guy. Told me some of what they're looking for, what they're going for. I'll give him a chance, and we'll see where it goes from there. That's what I'll say. And it's going to be records. That'll be my interest. I've got 5,000 of them sitting here lined up, ready to go, all cleaned and graded, the whole works. So anyway, that's what we'll probably do. I need the space. I'm branching out. I want to get some more stuff going with the other channel. I do a lot of art projects, and I keep recording, and I haven't put out another video on the other channel due to time, but I do record. So whenever things catch back up, we're down a couple employees, I will start cranking out some videos. As I've got them all shot, they're just sitting there in a box basically. Let's see here. What else? What other sites? Amazon, basically, retail arbitrage, I think, is probably the best there. If you're gated on Amazon and the products that you're able to are then I would list them on eBay. That would be my personal choice. That's the way I do them. I list them on Amazon first, and then I drop them to eBay if I can't list them. We had a deal where we were selling Migos. I was totally ungated on Migo action figures, and then Amazon came in, and anyway, I'm still fighting that one. Let's see, Amazon dishes I've done awesome on, pots, pans, electrical, light bulbs we've done good. I'll give you my best ever purchase and sales and volume on Amazon was flea and tick medicine, over the counter, OTC flea and tick medicine. We bought a pallet of it. I mean, just a massive, more than you would imagine. And I bought it from bulk.com. And people say bulk.com is crap and this and that and this and that. That wasn't my personal experience with them. I can only tell you what we had. I looked into everything before I bought it. I looked into expiration dates. I did the course on Amazon. I got the approval to sell hazardous and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if they're still offering it, but I've got all the certs on Amazon to sell whatever I can on there. And I sold out in like a week of that product, and I had a pallet of it. You're talking little, small, tiny things. It's just, you get the right thing, and you can unload them all. No advertising, no nothing. It's just gone. Really quick, easy ones. It's work when you're selling that, because you're selling a lot of them in the same day. If you haven't If you haven't had a day where you've sold so much that you were worried, that's what happens. A couple of years ago, I ran a sale, and I put a real good discount on, and I usually didn't do it on my whole store, but that's before eBay changed everything. There weren't as many sites out drawing as much traffic away. And I sold a ton of stuff that it took me like 7 hours to pack up. It killed my whole next day. I know it's a lot of money, but the point of it was I had to rearrange people. It was just terrible. I was stressed out. I didn't know if I was going to make, my deadline with eBay, and, they have to be shipped in a certain length of time. Once they've sold, you can't come back in and retroactively add a day on, so that's always a concern. Again, I don't want to complain about selling too much, but when you're not ready for it, it screws you over for a couple days. I think that put me behind like 2 days. Not just put me behind, I couldn't list because I couldn't get stuff ready, and it was all hands on deck. Everybody was trying to get shipping. I had somebody driving to the post office a couple extra times because they weren't going to take it all into the post office's vehicle. It would have filled it up a couple times. So I was nervous. I was really nervous. I know that sounds screwy, but I worry about stuff like that. I don't want my reputation due to some late shipment date mess me over, and that's, it could happen. So be careful when you do something like that. List them in limited quantity to see how they're going to go first. If you think something's going to go and you bought a pallet of them, you got 1,000 of something, don't list all 1,000 up until you know how they're going to float out the door. I wouldn't want to have to ship 1,000 items because for some reason it was so hot that they all sold. I'd be screwed. There's no way I could ship 1,000 items in a couple of days. I'd be up 2 straight days, and that would just be ludicrous, Let's see here. Let's go back to Amazon for a little bit more here. With Amazon, again, the gating issue, I think, is what gets most people. I think the complexity of what they assume it's going to be in all the horror stories. I'm sorry, I've got dog hair on my nose, I think, from having Jack down here. The complexity of what everybody assumes Amazon's going to be, I think, gets a lot of people that they don't even try it. And I think that's a bad take on it. If you want to try Amazon, you can try it without really having to pay the monthly fee. As long as it's an ungated category, you don't have to do anything. If you get ungated, you have to pay the monthly fee. The minute you get ungated on any category on Amazon, it's $39.99 a month. But you don't pay that dollar fee per item then, once it sells. I don't have an issue with Amazon ever. Even if I messed up a couple times when we first started, and it still didn't hurt me. I still got the buy box and everything. So again, Amazon's not as bad as everybody puts it out to be, in all honesty. I never have an issue with the listing unless it's been a issue with they wanting an invoice or something. And half the time it's an easy fix, and the other half of the time, the other 35% of the time, it just takes a little bit of work, and I can usually get past it with an invoice or something from one of the vendors out there. But anyway, again, I'm gonna give Whatnot a shot. We're gonna see what happens. They asked me how many times what I would be wanting to, how often I'd want to sell. And I told them it depends on how the first one goes. I was, blunt about that aspect. Again, they were very nice. I was, you never know what to expect. I've actually talked to some higher ups, including some folks who run and own a website before, so you never know what you're going to get. It's a mixed bag. The smaller sites usually are much friendlier and much nicer and much more interested in the buyer as well as the seller equally, instead of just one over the other one. At least that's my take on it. Let's just talk for just a minute here on pricing and things like that, because another question and a comment I always get is, you're killing reselling by talking about stuff. Around here, there's a lot of competition for me. There always has been. I've never been able to get certain items around here, and even when I have talked about it, and I know that people around here, are looking for similar items, I'm still able to get the same type of stuff I've always been able to get. It hasn't changed what I sell, and that's what I talk about. The categories that are flooded beyond belief are the ones that everybody else talks about. The clothing categories. Oh my gosh, it's really bad in the clothing categories. I don't know how sales are doing for everybody around there, but I've talked to I talk to a lot of resellers, as I've been saying, and a lot of people are having issues with clothing and home goods. Again, it depends on which type you're talking about. If you've got the latest, hottest clothing brand, high-end stuff sells far better right now than anything else on clothing, from what I've personally seen and heard. So if you're able to get that, you're probably good as gold and rolling in it right now. RA items, again, those do fairly well, again, depending on what you're selling. It's a mixed bag on most any site, I would say at this point. eBay's got its own issues. Again, most of the eBay's issues are the glitches and the constant changes. If they ended that crap, it would be a different story. We could all just get down to brass tacks business and just go forward. But it's hard when the mat is pulled out from under you a couple times a year. Again, those are your choices. I know there's not a ton of them, but those are the choices, and there are choices that do work. I know people that just make all their money from Craigslist and Facebook. It's an option. It's an option. If I wanted to do that around here, believe it or not, I could probably just get a big truck and go around garbage day in certain areas of town and get free furniture. I see it all the time. It just depends on what type of business you're looking to do. Scrappers. I know people that make a lot of money, $2,000-$3,000 a week profit off of scrap metal locally. And that's a pretty good chunk of change just from local pickups and local acquisitions of junk metal. Even garbage day is good for junk metal, believe it or not. Around here, geez, on one street, we've picked up copper. My son melts and he's got a couple kilns. He does some of his own metal casting and stuff. I've probably got in the garage right now, no exaggeration, from some of the neighborhoods that had copper pipe, maybe 150 pounds worth of copper piping from houses that was dumped at the curb. I pick it up. I don't mind if it's in the garbage or not. You're talking, copper's $3 a pound or something. It's up there. I know that now. Yeah, I see somebody else talking about dumpster diving. I just saw that. Hey, Daryl, how are you doing? There's Marty in there, too. Black Crystal Dice. I got Craig. Dave right below, Midwest Picker, Landshark Picker. A lot of picker names. Yeah, let's pop down here. I know I'm bad on calling everything out, but let's get on back down here. Let me get on down here. Yeah, I know the trolls. I expected it. I'm sure there's a bunch of them popping in here right this moment. Hang on just a second. I'm just seeing if we have any other questions rolling in here. So hang on. Oh, I see some furniture comments. I do pick up furniture occasionally, to be honest, but I have a place I can sell it to in cash. I don't get a fortune for it. I could make a lot more money if I went ahead and sold it myself, but it's quick, easy money. If it's something quick, let's say there's a dresser that I can get for $10-15, I can sell it for $50. The person I sell to may get $150. I don't care. It's quick, easy money, and they save stuff for me, so I don't care. I don't mind them making, when I pick it up, I don't have anything into it. Sometimes it's free stuff. Furniture, I know a couple people who will take some ratted out furniture, they'll repair it, they'll fix it up, and off it goes. They'll list it, they'll take some good photos and list it locally on Craigslist again, or Facebook Marketplace. I did create a Facebook Marketplace, but I'm not a big fan of it. I don't like some of the policies. It's too much Wild West, and I'm not a Wild West type of person. I'd rather have a stable, I know what to expect for the most part. Those are your choices. Again, if you're making money on eBay, I wouldn't recommend quitting. If you're making money on Amazon, don't quit. Whatever site you're on. Again, I know people are complaining want to quit Poshmark. I saw some videos on that. There's folks that say the same thing about a lot of the platforms out there. Again, if you're making money off of something and it's a considerable amount of money, why would you quit? There's nothing wrong with having an issue with something. It's how things get changed by voicing your opinion on what's not right. Like on eBay, any of the new changes, I always make a comment. I always do. Just tell them it's terrible, terrible, terrible. I do it for every single feature that they put out there that I don't like. I always make a comment every time I do it, every time I have to use it. Some things do change, and if you don't voice your opinion, it's never going to change for the good. It's always going to be against what's best. The unified listing, their new listing, I've tried it. It's terrible in my personal opinion for a unique item. There's too many pop-ups, too many clicks beyond it. That's another topic that's been brought up a lot. I know Ina on eCommerceBytes, she had an article on it. I hate it comparatively. Now, again, maybe it'll work out better. Maybe they'll change it later. I don't know. But as it stands right now, I tried it. I backed out of it. This was months ago. I think right now, if you try the new listing, you can't come back to the old way if you don't like it. That's, I'm pretty sure, what everybody has been stating and saying to us. So that's the issue that I would worry about if you switch over to it. A good chunk of our inventory revenue does come from eBay, so I'm not going to quit eBay. Wouldn't recommend anybody quitting if you're getting money from the platform. I worked some really crappy jobs in my life. Even as a general manager, I had a terrible boss when I worked at Cracker Barrel. He was just the biggest a-hole I've ever seen. Anyway, I put up with it until I didn't have to. And if it meant I was there for another year or 2 years, that's what I had to do, because that's the thing you do when you're paying the family bills and, you've got small kids. That's what I had to do. I had to bite the bullet, and every day I had to hate my job and pretend I loved it. You do what you got to do. You don't quit something if you're making money from it. If it's helping to pay your bills, and if you don't have another way around it especially, you don't quit. You don't stop doing something that's creating revenue from you. I don't care how much you hate it, you don't do that, because it's going to hurt you more than it'll hurt the site you're dropping off of. Don't risk your revenue, don't risk your sales from anger or of being tired. I'm tired of a lot of the stuff and the glitches that happen on eBay. I am tired of it, I really am. But again, it comes down to whether the revenue is important to me or the aggravation, and I'm figured a way to get around the aggravation with them, and we're done with it. So hopefully they'll fix it up the way they can, but we're moving on with other things. Again, this is why people and other sites have expanded more, because they're stumbling on eBay, in my book. Where it will go, who knows? But as a reseller in 2022, there are still fully the opportunities, I think, that were out there almost 5-10 years ago at this point. It might be a little harder. You might have to do more work than you would have done in 5 or 10 years ago, but the opportunities are still there. If you're a go-getter, if you're someone who doesn't care how many times that somebody's going to tell you no, you're going to still keep trying, asking, you're going to make it. That would be my personal opinion. I don't give up. I don't let the issues get over on me with that. It's just something you're going to have to learn to live with if you're going to be on eBay. The constant changes. Maybe sometime in the future they'll get it where they want it and we won't see the changes. I'm going to cross my fingers. I'm not going to hold my breath because I'd probably die, but I will cross my fingers. That's the biggest hope that we could have. Or maybe it'll get bought out sometime. Who knows? Those are what we're looking forward to. I've been through multiple CEOs at eBay. I'm still here. They are not. Eventually things will change. So here's one more I wanted to address, because I had several people asking me what I use for accounting. Yes, GoDaddy did pull the plug, or will. I think on June 18th, I think is the last day. It was like a 4-week notice. I got the notice email from I don't know how many people right off the bat. I personally do our stuff here on Excel spreadsheets. I don't use any Go anything. I don't have anything like that online at all. I don't do any cloud computing of that kind whatsoever. Never have. eBay's about it, and the site's run. I don't share any of my banking information on any other site at all other than my bank itself. Excel works just fine if you're in Patreon with me. I do have sheets that have every single thing broken down on a spreadsheet. If you've never used a spreadsheet, though, it's going to take you a little bit of time. I do a video how to do it, but the point is it's not for everybody. A lot of people just don't like the manual. You've got to know a little something to get everything to work correctly. But with Excel, or you can use Google Docs, which is free. You download any document you want from eBay as a CSV file, comma delineated, which means a comma is going to separate the columns, the rows, and you can import any total from those pages onto any of your own forms straight from eBay's own documents. So everything's going to be straight from the minute you import them, the minute you download them and open them up. Again, you can do it for free on Google Docs. You don't have to pay for Excel. There's tons of videos on how to do Excel. I've got several myself. I've used Excel to do inventory for 30 years probably, and I love it. I like Excel. I can take it to an accountant, similar that what a national company would use. I've got my own P&L that comes together at the end. It looks just like when I worked for somebody else. I use the same exact process. I set it up because of working for somebody else for all these years as a regional. I use those same number systems. I use the same sheeting. I set them all up myself, but they're specific to what I do. I got them broken down by the month. I've got my categories broken down. I've got supplies. I've got shipping. I've got inventory purchases, admin expenses. All that stuff is broken down column by column, month by month, and even day by day. So if I bought something on January 20th, I put it in a box for January 20th. The receipt goes in an envelope that says January on it, and they're in order of the date that they were done. So I just go from up to the 20th, and there's my receipt. So everything is all kept together at the end of the year. I don't have to worry about some app that may not be there in a year or two, or whatever the case may be. I've known people who've used the GoDaddy for a long time, and they're not happy. Again, I personally don't recommend anybody ever importing your eBay stuff to another platform other than like a API sync, because they don't get any of the information. But I don't like the idea of hooking up anything online to it, because if they get hacked, it's just one more opportunity for you to have your data ripped off and stuff like that too. That's just my take on it. I mean, if you're not up on it and something you won't like, I wouldn't recommend it, because Excel is just basically a blank slate when you purchase it. If you purchase and go that route, you have to set it all up. You have to understand how to do it and set up the cells and, color. I color code everything. I've got color codes. I've blocked it out. I've merged cells together. I've labeled everything. And that's how I've learned to do it. So I keep doing it that way. Again, that's not my techniques. That's how big business does it. I worked for somebody, and I used the same exact thing I used when I ran $11 million plus business. The exact same system, same papers, basically, just geared towards reselling. I know quite a few people who do the same basic thing too. I know I'm terrible on this, and I don't think I've said it all, but if you're enjoying the conversation, please slam that thumbs up button there. It'd be great to get to at least the 100 mark before the end of the show. I'm not going to be talking super long today. I've been in conference calls like half the day. And we did shoot some film earlier for a Weeble video, as I said. That one's coming out real soon. It's going to be a whole different everything. So hopefully that will be well received. Let me slap on down here and see what we got. Let me slide down just a little bit more down. See if we got any questions on down here. Hey, Trina. How are you doing, Trina? I got a lot of folks in here. I don't want to miss anybody, but I'm not going to call out names today just because I'm so far into it. Boy, we got a lot going on, a lot of questions. I don't even know where I'd want to begin on this. Let's talk about one more thing. I see somebody talking about exposure, and then we'll end it off on here. You're better off if let's say you've got something that can be sold on 5 different sites. If I'm going to put something out on a site, I have to know that it has traffic to warrant my time learning the site and understanding how the site works. So I literally will go do like a trending report, or I'll do a bounce report for a site. A bounce report is how long someone stays on a site before they leave the platform. It tells you how many pages they view on average, and some other information too. I looked at that when I'm looking at other sites that I intend to do stuff with. Hip. When I went to Hip years back, three or 4 years ago, I looked at their traffic, their bounce rate. Their bounce rate was great. It meant that people were looking longer, and they were looking longer on Hip than they were on eBay at that point. So that sounded like a win-win, and it was a specialty site that I was looking at specifically because that's what I was selling, and hence it does work. So for me, I tried Poshmark when we were selling clothing. I looked at their traffic and the whole works. It was worth it. Again, that's why I say, the traffic-wise, that's why I say nothing wrong with Poshmark. It's just not for me. Nothing wrong with it at all. I know enough people to say that, yes, they do very well on it. It has enough traffic based on the niche, the clothing aspect of it. If it was just an overall site that sold everything, their numbers wouldn't be good. So you've got to take that into account too. Just like looking on Amazon. You don't have the same luxury you do on another site, but if you're going to sell something, one of the key factors I do on Amazon is I look at where they rank, where the item ranks in that specific category. There's cheat sheets out there you can get. I'm not going to give out my cheat sheets on it, but there's cheat sheets that you can get. I know if an item falls in this bracket of ranking, that it's worth me getting because it's going to sell within a certain length of time. That's the type of information you have to know. If you've got a book in a certain category, a certain area, a certain niche, and it ranks in the top 100 or top 1,000, again, depending on the category, you automatically should know that it's ranking so well that you're going to do awesome on it. That's another factor that I look at. So even without traffic on Amazon, you can use the rankings to at least get past that. There are some other ways to look at some other information. I've talked about them. There's a lot of phone apps you can get that actually will help you on Amazon. But anyway, Walmart's another one I haven't talked about. Let's just throw Walmart in there just real quick. If you're doing retail arbitrage, Walmart may be an opportunity for you as well. Again, it just depends on what you're selling. Walmart, there's nothing wrong with selling on Walmart. In fact, Sam's Club sells their same stuff they sell on their own platform, their own site, on Amazon. We buy from Sam's Club some specific items, nuts. I've talked about buying and selling nuts for some time. Sam's Club, you can sometimes get a discount off of Amazon from there and get them cheaper than you could in the store and still make some money on stuff off there, believe it or not. But we're gonna end it on there. I know this was kind of like a shorter one than I usually do, but this is the first time back. I'll be back on next Thursday. I will be scheduling some more roundtables, so we will have some other folks on here. I just have to email somebody back. I've got Benny's going to come back on, Toy Guy, owns his own site, Tenacious Toys. I just have to drop him a note. We've been in and out so often, I haven't had a chance to hit him back. But he's going to be on for an interview as well. I may push out a few other things. Tomorrow's video is a Bolo video also. And then I'll probably show some more of my trip down to Springfield, Ohio's flea market. It ranks in the top 10. We'll go into some of what I found from talking to folks, where the sales are coming from, the percentage of people that do eBay and do those types of venues as well was very interesting in my opinion. Some surprising results in all honesty. But anyway, I do appreciate everybody coming on. Somebody's talking about fishing. That sounds good. Big fisherman. I haven't been fishing in years, so that does sound actually fairly interesting. While we were out of town, we did stop and get some fish from a fish fry house. I love that kind of thing too. But anyway, we will let it go. I will have another video out tomorrow. I will try and push out in fact, let me write that down. Push out a little short out about that item I mentioned earlier. And we will go from there. But I do appreciate everybody coming on. Again, if you haven't hit that thumbs up, please hit that thumbs up. And I am going to let you go for the evening.